Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar, only on LA Talk Radio.
Thank you for listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse. I'm your host, Alexa Polar. I have today my co-host, Kathy Dang.
Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday.
I don't know why I blinked for a moment there. I'm like looking right at you. Real quick, you can always find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Yep. Mm-hmm. All the shows are being sent or placed up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It makes it easier to share on social media. We were not up to date. I left and it's currently all being updated as we speak. So by hopefully the end of today, all the shows should be up to date, minus today's show. Today's show would be up tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. And to call in, it's 818-602-4929. That's 818-602-4929. Today, we have this awesome lady sitting here in front of me. Her name is Sasha Marie Speer. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Yay, points for me. I don't know why I'm doing this because I always suck with names. We're going to get to you real quick. We have an announcement to make. Yep. Second annual, the Female Filmmakers Fuse Film Festival. Look at all those F's. It's like a mouthful right there. We're going to make the announcement right now of the official selection. Yep. Congratulations to all those that were selected. Thank you to everyone that sent in their films. Mm-hmm. It wasn't easy. We did get a ton. They were all good, but we have time constraint. So let's get it going. Kathy, let's start with you.
First off, we got Adulting by filmmakers Cassidy Davis and Elizabeth Lockard.
V for Veganism, Broadway Vegan by filmmakers Kristen Marilyn and Carolina
Siskowska.
Thank you. See.
Then we have Vulture's Spare Room with the View by filmmaker Christy Robinson.
Female Friendly by filmmaker Frankie Ingracia.
Breaking Open by filmmaker Rachel Upshaw.
Tales from the Pussy Willow, Parents Chat by filmmaker Kate Jessup. Jessup? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Mom and Me Moving In and Coming Out by filmmaker Rachel Cairns.
Okay, so it doesn't just happen to me. Crystal, the web series by filmmaker Crystal Carrera.
Shakam by filmmaker Yoon Soo Lee.
Feet of Fire by filmmaker Amanda Abikalaf. Mm-hmm.
Grab Him by filmmaker Lane McKenna.
That's awesome. Jasper by filmmaker Scarlett Urbano.
Vagilant by filmmaker Mary Meyer.
I Am a Woman by filmmaker Lauren Bautista.
Excelanus by filmmaker Melanie Weldon.
Box by filmmaker Sasha Beeley.
Terminal by filmmaker Nadine Mumji.
Through the Window by filmmaker Kira Daniels.
The Secret Life of Art by filmmaker Catherine Mosier Mills.
You're really good at this, Kathy. Rosie Reed.
I can read.
Rosie Reed, the Bandit Queen by filmmaker Ali Schultz.
Inner Skill by filmmaker Rosa Baroa.
Wuthering Heights by filmmaker Shireen Ashantari.
Real People by filmmaker Adele Baragi.
25% by filmmaker Anne Celaya.
Blessed Days by filmmaker Valentina Cassidy.
The Other Woman, Zizi's Dream by filmmaker Zizi Rinkolowski.
August in the City by filmmaker Christy Konachala.
Okay. Momo by filmmaker Yoonjo Shang.
Nasty Woman by filmmaker Haley Ann Evers.
Bride of Frankie by filmmaker Devi Snevely. Sorry.
The Last Doll Lady by filmmaker Taryn Huff.
The Soothing System by filmmaker Mary Meyer.
Cold Water by filmmaker Amy Shelton White and David Zelina.
And Tarpan, The Salvation by filmmaker Neelam R. Singh.
Congratulations to you all. Thank you.
And we'll keep you posted. I think the film festival is this October. Mm-hmm. Hope everyone is able to attend, and anyone that is in the area, it's going to be here in Los Angeles. I think it's in Pasadena. I encourage you guys to stop by. We're going to have some really great guest panels as well. Okay, moving forward to why we're here. Sasha.
Welcome, Sasha.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me today. So my name is Sasha, obviously. I have been in Los Angeles here for about 5 years and love it. I'm not leaving.
Awesome. Glad you're here.
I'm here today to talk about really something that has been born like within my like soul, and I feel like it's been this thing, and I know we're going to get more into it later. So, but a little bit about myself. My background is I was a physical therapist and so I have a doctorate and was in school for forever, which I loved, but always burning inside of me, which is an artist. And it's really, which is part of why I love LA. It's given me the opportunity to really like allow that birthing process, that like the butterfly to come out and shine. And this show coming up is really a full representation of that.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, I like to laugh. I like to walk and swim, and I love people. I love people so much.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. We spoke a couple months ago, and you were telling me about your show that took place in June?
Correct. June 23rd.
June 23rd.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that show.
So June was the first show, Sawubona, which means I see you in Zulu, Women of Courage. And the part one was all about women being able to identify those negative things we have in our heads. We all have, right? And being able to let those go and step into our power. And then once you're in that powerful place, being able to recognize the other as self and realizing that none of us is ever alone. This entire project is rooted in women healing through trauma or from trauma. So instead of being in this victim mode, which oftentimes happens and people identify like I'm the victim, this thing happened to me, like that ends up owning and running their life, being able to identify, okay, I'm a victim, I'm a survivor, I'm thriving, I'm powerful, and moving beyond it. And so we really provided a platform, an interactive art platform. So for people to, through the art, discover within themselves their power and being able to, again, really feel like they're part of this community.
Nice. What pushed you to do that? What inspired you?
Yeah.
Better said.
So I came to LA doing documentary films and was introduced to this gentleman who runs this nonprofit organization, Youth Mentoring Connection, and to maybe do a documentary film for them to help raise money. And I met him and met the organization, and I said, like, I don't know if a documentary film is the best way to raise money, but I'm inspired to do something else. And especially after I walked what's called the medicine wheel with them, and I was 2 days out of a divorce. They didn't know, and I didn't know what my next step was. I didn't know where I was going. And it really helped me to really see clearly, like, okay, what I needed to do next and find, again, the community and feel like I wasn't alone and that I'd be okay. And I was inspired to do this show. And I said, I don't know if it's going to make any more money than documentary would, but like, let's give it a shot. Let's do this. And so we worked with them and their young women and having them interviewed, and in that process finding that it was really a healing process for not only them but myself. Like I got all my healing like from this project. Yeah. And in working with all of these really courageous women.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it's really interesting how that happens. Just life hands you something like that when you don't even realize that it's a part of the process, and until you go through it, then it becomes like that aha moment. Like, thank goodness I'm here. Thank goodness I crossed paths and with this man and decided to do this. And you did it in a different way than what they were expecting, which is like what maybe you thought it was going to be, which is the documentary filmmaking. And it went into something more and more in depth. And I think that's amazing. And it's great that you were able to heal from it, and they as well, correct? That's amazing. And then now there's a part 2 coming up in September.
Correct.
So this when in September and where?
September 8th. It's at Community Shoes, spelled with 1 M.
Okay.
It's in the downtown Los Angeles, the Arts District.
Okay.
And so it's one of the founders of Tom's Shoes. He has now formed his own shoe company, which is just amazing.
That's cool.
I love their shoes.
Very, very
We're
cool.
all in there like, how do we not just like buy all of your shoes and go shopping the whole time? But they are being gracious enough to donate the space for this event. So they have a really large space in the back, and we are expecting about 300 people, so it's a pretty big event. It's all a fundraiser for this organization, again, because I really wanted to make sure that we gave to them. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, they do such beautiful work with these kids, and it's really such a joy to be able to give something that it's filling my soul, but it's also filling the souls of these women. And then now raising money, it's going to be able to affect more and more people. So this show is dedicated entirely to the medicine wheel.
Oh, nice.
So this is that now. Okay, we've identified our power. We've really found the self and other. Now it's about walking this journey. And the medicine wheel, if you're not familiar with it, it operates similar to like how we have seasons, right? And we can see like, not so much in LA, right? But many other places, like we have these seasons and they're cyclical and we don't try to fight them. Like, no, it can't be fall. I mean, maybe for the 2 days, but you realize you can't change it and you just accept it, right?
Right.
So like we have seasons, on our earth, we have seasons within ourselves and we have seasons within each aspect of ourselves as well. So we're really going to focus on the seasons that deal with relationship at this. So maybe there's something that you're kind of stuck with, or like, I want that over there, but how do I get it? I don't understand why I keep repeating the same cycle or why I just can't get that. It's going to help you see you're going to actually have an opportunity to walk the wheel and see like, oh, I'm skipping these steps. I get it. Like I'm completely missing these things. Usually they're blind spots to us. Like we didn't even realize we had to, go that route, or they're things we have been like on purpose ignoring.
Right.
And really seeing that's the natural flow. So like, you can't get to spring unless you go through winter,
Right.
and you
Makes
get to
sense.
see that as it relates to a relationship.
So that's what the medicine ball is.
The medicine wheel.
Medicine
okay.
wheel. Sorry,
Yeah.
medicine wheel. That sounds interesting. And I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to mentally put a picture. So it's kind of like seasons. How does one go around it? Is it something that cycles over and over in life? How can you explain or elaborate on that?
I can, and we're actually going to simplify it for the show because it can get super complex and you get lost in the weeds. Like what?
Just like I did right now.
Right.
What?
Sounds amazing, but I don't get it yet. But it's very much experienced. So talking about it is kind of abstract. It's like talking about what snow feels like. Like you just have to experience snow.
Right.
So to simplify this, we're going to actually be doing a live representation of this. So Tony LaRae, who's the founder of Youth Mentoring Connection, has been using this medicine wheel to work with at-risk youth here in LA for years. So he's doing a live demonstration of this at the event so people will really get to experience it. Then when you come into the art show, you will have already been through it, but most people are going to miss it. They're going to go, oh my goodness, we're doing a visual representation of this.
Okay.
So that people get to really discover what there is for themselves to find at this. So I can't really just say it's going to be exactly like this because each person's going to have a different experience. But in general, every new thing in life has to start somewhere with it, right? And so it's going to show you, okay, there's that spark. This is the spring. It's that new thing in your life. Let's say again around relationship, and okay, from this new thing, where do we go? And it's going to guide you through the wheel. So you need some sort of teacher or mentor. Like, who is that person? Is it the person that you're in the relationship with? Did you model something after? Was it your father or your mother or someone that you modeled this after? Do you have someone else? Who's teaching you? And then and then the next phase of is in the south, and then you go into the obviously the west and then up to the north, and each phase of this represents something else. So like the hot part of the relationship, the kind of bored part of the relationship, the like, oh my gosh, we're fighting all the time and we can't get through this part of relationship. And then there's also elements in between those that you can't get from one to the other until, like, for instance, you forgive yourself for something. And usually most of us, especially women, I've found more and more doing this show, like, we are really ashamed of things we shouldn't be ashamed about. And we let that stop us from whether it's connecting to someone else or owning our own worth. And oftentimes that is like that element where people will be stuck in this phase of like fighting, for instance, and bickering. And really there's something within themselves that needs to be resolved in order for them to get to a place of peace in the relationship.
That's super
Makes a
deep.
lot of sense.
You just went way too deep. Way too deep.
Sorry. Into so many aspects of life,
Yeah.
But really it comes down to like inner self-reflection has to really do with, yourself.
Yeah. Well, and to tag on the deep part, like, we are getting deep, but we're going to have a good time too. People want to just have wine and hang out fine. But part of this is like, for instance, when I was going through my divorce, I was like, I'm fine. I'm this powerful woman. I don't even cry. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. But I wasn't. And it took me like this, broke me down. And I was like, okay, maybe I need like, to talk to somebody, like not a therapist even necessarily, but like a girlfriend. Like I wasn't opening up to anybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a necessary part of this. Like we say deep, but like with this fear sometimes, and kind of this like pushback, like, I don't want to go there. I don't even know how to go there.
That's a big void. It's scary.
A big void. It's super scary, but that's like right next to that, in that void and right next to that is where our true gifts lie. That's where all the magic happens. And in facing that and having the courage to face that, that's these women of courage, right? These young women all faced it. They found their gifts. They're blossoming like crazy. And so everybody that, you know, is part of this event has that opportunity. You don't have to say a thing. You don't have to go there if you don't want to. But just looking at it sometimes and self-reflecting, you can see something that will open up an entire world for you.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
And it goes with, like what you said, Kathy, it does go with pretty much anything. And I mean, you mentioned it as well, but because you made an example of a relationship, but I feel like you can reflect on that, you know, regardless of what you're going through in life. Correct.
Right.
So
correct.
Even mourning, for example,
Yeah.
you know, so that could help you get through those stages of mourning, which a lot of people have sometimes difficult dealing with. And it's like what you guys were talking about, a self-reflection is the biggest part, and acceptance. And I think a lot of us have that issue where we're not fully ready to be aware and accept what we're not wanting to be aware of. And I think it's amazing, and I'm glad you're here because there's so much going on in life, in the world, you know, especially now. And I think that it's so easy to point the finger at anyone else but ourselves. And once we point it to ourselves, then we can find how to find a resolve and open up and change and be able to evolve with the change. And I think that's part of the thing that holds us back is the fact that we don't want to evolve to something else. Because a lot of us, we all have issues with change. Mm-hmm. Everyone has issues with change. It's something that seems very scary, like that void, that huge dark void that's so deep, because we don't want to change. We don't want to, like what you said, become this butterfly. We don't want to evolve to something better, because we're afraid it might not be something better. It might be too scary for us.
It challenges our survival.
Yeah.
And when it challenges our survival, our little reptilian brain's like, nope, run now. It's not safe, you know, even though like it might open up to this greater thing that you want, right? Mm-hmm. Most of us do want to evolve. We just don't want to go through the things we got to go through to get there.
Right.
Because we think they're too scary. We think they challenge our survival.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah, fear of the unknown, you know, so.
Exactly. I mean, that's a constant fear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why people are scared of death.
And fear of failure.
Fear of failure.
Oh, failure. Yeah, for sure.
And this is another thing, too, because, like, LA is a very career-driven town, right? Mm-hmm. And especially, like, you're looking at film and, like, oh, my goodness, and there's so much chaos. Like, what direction do I even go? There's not a linear, you know, straight line to get what you want. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to get lost and feel like you're the victim of this system or of whatever it is, the status of women or whatever it is. In this same methodology, you can find, maybe there's something that I can do. Like, it gives you your power back. Mm-hmm. Instead of expecting for someone else to do something or some system to change or whatever, what is it within myself that I'm actually ignoring or running from that I can have the power over, you know? Because we do that in our careers. We're like, how come somebody won't blah, 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 blah? But we're not doing it.
Right.
We're missing something. We're not making that phone call, the really scary phone call that we should be making, or popping into someone's office, or, you know, Instagramming them, or whatever it is. Or asking, period. Sometimes we just wait for someone to give us an opportunity instead of just asking for it.
Yeah. Because we're always afraid of the answer.
Yeah.
You know, even if the answer is a no,
yeah,
it's like ripping that Band-Aid off. It's like, okay,
well, now I know, and I can ask somebody else.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. But instead we stick on.
We wait.
And it's in that waiting that the suffering happens. Mm-hmm. Right. And by suffering, it's like, you don't have to be like, you know, like in like a dark hole and, you know, hiding from everybody.
Right.
It's like we have this image sometimes like, oh, I don't suffer. No, but in that, like that repetitive brain of ours, right? Because it's always on. That, what are you thinking about? What is that thing that you're stuck on? Because that's usually that thing that there's that click that can happen to be able to get through that, so you can focus on other things.
And so with this show that you have, is there another one after this one, or is it just these two that you've done? Just
these two for right now. Well, they're part of one show. We just didn't have the space for them both in one space, because we would need quite a bit of real estate, and we just we didn't have that available to us. So we're looking for. I'd like to have a home for it where it can live a little bit longer, and so we are looking for that. So
that would be great.
So some sort of gallery, museum, something like that, where people can really have time to come in and spend time with it versus just a day or a week of being open. open.
No, this is just a day, or are you guys going to be hosting it longer?
This is just a day.
Just a day on the 8th.
This is just a day on the 8th, yeah.
Okay.
And it's going from 7 to 10 p.m.
Okay. And then you said you have a documentary after that as well, or coincide with it?
There's 2 films that are part of this.
Okay.
There's one that is more of an abstract piece that I've done.
Okay.
We have filmed over 60 sets of eyes, and we've put those into a grid of 20.
Wow.
And so you get to be with these eyes, and the next thing you know, they start to flip, and you see new eyes, and then those start to flip, and you see new eyes, and you get to go, well, okay, they're flipping, what's happening, what's going on, and really start to discover what these people have in common, what's different. And it's really like these underlying threads of the things that tie us together, because we think that like we identify ourselves here of like, for instance, I'm blonde and you're Asian here, right? We may have nothing in common. That's BS. We probably have loads of stuff in common, right? But we look at these exterior things, or someone dresses a certain way, but they must have nothing to do with us. We realize when we strip all of that down, there's so much more we have in common with each other. And this piece is representative. We have women who've been through trauma, others that haven't. And they're not identified as far as who's who in the film, but the point is that we're all together in this. We're like, I got your back, right?
Right.
And so like, you're not alone. No matter what you're going through, you're not alone. So that's one film. It's called One.
One. Okay.
Oh, great title.
Yeah, it really is. And is it somewhere we can find it? Is there some like online or?
It will be after the show.
Oh, that's
great. It will be after the show.
Okay, so this will be showcased on the 8th.
On the 8th.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second one?
And the second one is a collaboration we did with For Love Productions. And they are the Marielle and Marita. I'm blanking on their last name because I have her Instagram name in my head. But there's these wonderful filmmakers that from Europe, and they have done a beautiful job working with these girls. So I was introduced to them through a friend as we were filming The Young Women, and we thought, okay, well, we need like more of like a narrative like film that's part of this. And so they put together with some of my input and some of the nonprofit's input, this beautiful short film that outlines the meaning of Sawubona. And what these girls have been through and who they've been able to become through the essence of Sawubona.
Where'd you learn that word?
So it's the nonprofit that's where this was all inspired by, is Youth Mentoring Connection uses Sawubona as their greeting.
Okay.
So they work with all these youth. Most of them are South Central at-risk youth that are just completely passed by, not seen, not, acknowledged in many aspects of their lives, at home, school, you name it. And so it was really important for them to make sure that they acknowledged and say, like Sawubona, I see you.
How do these at-risk teens, like you said, go there? I mean, who reaches out to them?
Yeah, most of the time now is through word of mouth. They have people coming in their doors. They
nice.
They could be growing with more funding, could be growing faster than they are.
Right.
They do such magic with these kids.
That's great.
So
There's a program out there for them.
Yeah.
Because I would think they would be really difficult to reach.
Yeah, they're embedded in the community there, and so a lot of them do come to them.
Okay.
And they have a lot of different programs they offer. It isn't just like this, like, oh, here's your mentor, off you are. And they have a surfing program, and so they can learn that, like, to find their power and strength and through surfing. They have like they just renamed it, but it was like Get Your Shit Together program, like about like how to like get like your bank account and all this stuff, and like finding out like the tools of life.
Which is essential.
Yes, it's absolutely essential. They've worked with some of the prisons as well. They've done so much. They have these echo sessions every Friday, which are just fantastic, where they really create a lot of what they do is very it's very ritualistic and like tribal. It's the Native American and African influences, because a lot of these kids, their tribe is the gang. So this gives them another tribe to belong to that is healthier. And so they have a lot of drums and really like native practices that they use. And they have this session called Echo, where it's just they create an open space. Men go in one area and women in the other, so it's just safe, and you can talk about whatever it is that you're dealing with. There's no judgment. People just acknowledge you for sharing, and you move on. There's no advice given, but you get this safe place to share, and it's amazing, like in the sharing and in the opening up, how much freedom people are able to find.
That's really nice.
I want to add one thing. Teens, and then it goes into like in the early 20s, and some kids have just kind of stayed. Many have like now work for the organization.
That's so good.
It's a sense of family.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so good, because it's better than what you're saying when it comes to gangs, for example. I mean, I was raised in Long Beach, and I saw a lot of that. Thankfully, I was never affiliated or interested in any of it. I was like such a nerd, and I'm so glad that I was. But it's just, like I said, things in life happen. So when I was 14 and going into, almost about to turn 15, I should have gone to high school in Long Beach. But there was a fire at my house and we lost our home and we were forced to move out. And I'm so glad that happened. At first, I was so upset because that was my childhood home. Like, that's all I knew. But it was a blessing in disguise because I go back and it's the neighborhood. It's just not what it used to be. I mean, it got worse and I think it's getting better now because of it's a good thing and a bad thing. Depends on how you look at it with gentrification and whatnot. But I think it's helping that neighborhood right now. But when I got out, it was the best time. And it's something sometimes I reflect on it and I say, I'm
dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I did. And sometimes literally, because I remember as a kid, and I talk to other people and they don't have the same type of memory. Me and my younger brother seen people shooting at each other. And now it's a scary thing where you don't want it to happen like at certain areas, obviously like schools and stuff like that. But I remember getting out of school and there were shootings and seeing it as a kid. And it was a normal thing. It happened in my neighborhood. I seen it where they were just standing and I don't know how they didn't shoot each other. They were just aiming and just, shooting. And if they hit, it hit. And if it didn't. And I remember like knowing what it meant to drop to the floor. And that's not a normal thing for everyone, and I'm not saying because it was just the area that I grew up in wasn't bad. It just started getting worse because there's parts of Long Beach that is just amazing. It's just great. It's beautiful to be a part of. I would feel safe there no matter what time, but there's some parts of it that's not so great. And I think it's changed a little bit, but it's because of gangs. It's because of that sort of lifestyle. And sometimes people get stuck in it. And it's unfortunate because I've seen it firsthand. I know my brothers would talk about funerals that they gone to and they were just like, what? Because, they had friends that were gang members and they went to a funeral and they said they didn't understand why this person was dressed in gang attire. And they even had his hands with the gang. And he's like, that's such a sad way to go and then be buried like that. Like it never left his life, his being nothing because they buried him exactly how he lived. That wasn't a way to live. It was sad. Instead of making an example and being sad by he could have had a better life or it could have been something else, let's reflect on it and enjoy the fact that this is what ended up killing him. And I could never understand that. And I'm glad that my brother saw that and was like, that was scary. He said that I looked at his family and they were all celebrating the gang life. And I was thinking, you lost someone because of the gang life. Why are you celebrating that? And that's what he had told me that, and my brother Mitch, and I was like, that's insane, And it's great that because it opened a conversation with my brother Mitch and myself about that, and I saw a side of him that, I normally don't see, but it stuck with him, And so a lot of these kids that are at risk, I didn't realize that at the time I could have been at risk as well, because I thought my life was so privileged, if you will, because I had my parents took care of me and I was spoiled because I was the only daughter. So I was very, very taken care of. And that's what made me maybe a little bit of a nerd because I was just like, whatever, I don't need this. I liked it, technology stuff. And that's what it was. And people looked at me and didn't want to be my friend. And I was okay with that. I didn't want those kind of people to be my friends. But there's other kids that do and do anything that they can to feel like a part of something that maybe they shouldn't belong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we're all looking to belong somewhere.
And that's a scary thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so especially if you don't belong at home, because many of these kids, they don't belong at home. Either their parents aren't there or they're awful to them. And you're looking for that sense of belonging and that's where they'll find it.
And I didn't have that. Yeah. I thank God I didn't have that. Yeah. But it's unfortunate that other people do. And it's just a weird thing that I see now reflecting back. I've reflected back on this many times where sometimes I'll pass by and I look and I'm like, I can't believe I grew up there and I was so crushed. And then I realized, man, it was perfect timing because it was getting worse. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I left, and that's when I went from there to Orange County. And it was like almost like a culture shock. Like I was like, I don't belong here. Like it was just like, this is something way different. But I'm glad that a program like this exists because it's needed. And it's weird too at the same time because, growing up in Long Beach and then going from there to Orange County. And then I knew someone that was deep in Orange County and they didn't have gangs, they had drugs. Mm-hmm. That was their thing. Mm-hmm. You see these kids are bored. So they go to drugs, and everyone blames places like Compton or whatnot. These kids were in the best neighborhoods in Orange County. Like, these houses were like multi-million-dollar houses, and they were so bored with their life that they were doing everything and anything to get high. And I didn't fit in there as well, but my friend would tell me stories about that, and I was just like, man, that's not the way to go. But they would talk badly about these kids that were from South Central, from Compton, and all that. They're like, they have gangs, and I'm like, where are you going?
Well, so much of this is actually rooted in a lack of connection. Studies have shown that lately too. So a lot of forms of addiction. So, and even again, people seeking gangs, and a big part of, like, again, what spawned Salbona is that we're all in this community together. We pretend that we're in these separate communities. We're in this world community together. Like, we can't keep pretending that we're separate. We're on our phones now so much, and we're all starving for connection. Yeah. You know, and so it's about really connecting people, crossing those. These are not barriers that really exist. They're barriers we create between each other, whether it's race, whether it's age, whether it's sex, what you name it. We create them, and being able to see and experience that. One thing I forgot to mention that we're doing, which is a really important part of this, is we're bringing 10 powerful leaders in Los Angeles. One of which is Senator Holly Mitchell. She's one of the champions here in Los Angeles for these kids.
Cool. Nice.
Toe-to-toe and face-to-face with 10 of these young women in silence for 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So that they can actually see each other.
Yes. That's
amazing.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Very. Oh, and is that was the idea of the organization, or is that something that you guys co-conspired to do?
Well, this was my idea as far as the face-to-face. Yeah,
okay.
Because it was something I actually did in like a seminar, and I was like, oh, I got to do this somewhere in the art world. And then I had met Tony, and I was like, oh my gosh, Salbona, this is what it is. And it was an evolution, just like a lot of things in art. And when I say art, I mean film. I mean the artistic expression. They don't always happen in an instant. It's a process. And so sometimes we have these experiences, and we don't know where to put them, but we know that, like, there was a marked difference in our way of being in our life. We had a greater awareness, and okay, I want to do something with this. And then in meeting Tony, and I had a vision for the show after meeting him, and this experience came right back in, and I pitched it to him and his team, and they said, we love it, let's do it. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
That sounds, and is that something that is just them, or is that something that it's going to happen for people to witness? Do you want that more of a private setting?
No, so the way that we're doing it is we're doing this in the center of everything. And so people that are present, if you're not part of the 10 and 10, are asked to be in an open position. So you're not crossing your arms, your legs, you're not on your phone, right? Right. You're completely present and open and with these 20 women.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a profound experience. We did this at the June event as well, and it was profound, like what people got from this. And so even being in the audience, you will be able to discover something for yourself.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I always do that when I get uncomfortable. I cross my arms. Yeah. I do the legs. I fidget a lot, and it's kind of like I'm aware of the reason why, and it just makes me fidget more. So that's interesting. That becomes part of the rule, because then you're forced to be more present and allow yourself to be open to that.
And in our culture, I feel like we're getting further and further from being present to anything because things go faster, and there's more media and more data and more whatever. And it's like, present, what does that mean?
Exactly.
You know, my mom is so funny. I love my mother to death. And I have been trying to get this woman for years to just like sit still, you know, because it's like she was always looking for the next thing. And really in doing this show, I was able to, my mom and I have really bonded a lot the last few years, and really able to help her to discover like it's okay to just be still, like, you know.
That's good.
That is good though. And you finally got her to be still for a minute?
Yeah. She came to the first show and she loved it. She's like, this is so inspiring. I'm like,
It's so great. It's so great.
There's nothing scary there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not being lazy. I think sometimes we feel like we're lazy if we're not moving a million miles a minute.
Yeah. And
there is. There is a connotation with being lazy if you're like not always being productive and active.
Yeah, we don't realize, there's actually a great article in the National Geographic, I think it's the most recent one, might be the one before that, about sleep. And I just want to touch on this real quick because it has to do with like presence, where like I guess in Japan it is socially acceptable to fall asleep in public. Yeah. Because it actually means that like you're pushing yourself to exhaustion in like work.
So it's all good.
It's all good, right? And it's this whole thing of like when we're that busy, and it's very similar, I feel like, here in LA. Like there's always this push for more. You did that? Okay, well what's next? What's next? It's like,
I needed it yesterday.
Yeah. yeah, I needed it yesterday. You had to go to the bathroom. Sorry. Like, there's no time for that. I mean, like little things. And so, but in really taking a step back and being present and really finding that, like, that zen in everything, right? That awareness of where you really are aware of your own breath. You're aware of the stillness inside your heartbeat. You begin to become aware of those things around you in a heightened fashion. You begin to be like, those decisions you make and the actions that you do take are more productive. So it's kind of this like flip on time, right? Yeah. That we think that it's fitting more stuff into the time, but really we can alter how that time occurs for us, be more productive within that time, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
I ironically, I remember when I would sleep so much that I would do more, and I feel like just happier in life. It was weird. And I remember my mom used to complain and say, like, all you're doing is sleeping. Like, oh, that's all you do. And I was like, not really. Now I can't seem to get sleep at all. Like, if I do end up going to sleep at a decent hour, I wake up at the time that I normally go to sleep, which is like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then I have a restless night where I'm trying to go back to sleep. So it's weird. And then now life seems more chaotic and more unhappy with things. And so I want to go back to that. I like more sleep, because it's not. And I remember, you're right, because I remember being told that the more you sleep, the lazier you seem to be. And I was like, that's so strange, because now reflecting back, I did a lot more when I slept more. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. I need to sleep more.
We're more effective, you know, and also it's the only time we regenerate and heal. It's when our thoughts, like during the day, we are collecting information. We synthesize it when we're sleeping. So if we're trying to synthesize it awake, it's going to take a lot more energy, and half the time it's not as good, you know, than actually just letting sleep do its magic.
Right.
So often people ask me, how do you get all this stuff done? And you must not sleep. I sleep. Most nights, 9 hours, I get my sleep.
Nice.
Because I'm able to like get my stuff done. But I made it a priority. You know what I mean? I made it a priority. It's like, and
you love yourself.
I love myself. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not my best self if I'm not sleeping. I'm not able to connect with people if I'm filming or photographing, and I'll get lost in thought or whatever. I can't focus as well. You know what I mean? And I'm hungry. I'll gain weight if I'm not sleeping. Like the whole thing falls apart.
Sleep is crucial.
It is.
And because we're so connected nowadays with all electronic devices, it's like, I mean, I've probably read in so many articles, I can't recall where it's like electronic devices are keeping us up.
Yeah, it was actually in that National Geographic article too. The blue light from the back screen is the worst.
Yeah, the blue light. You read at night, you read an article, and all of a sudden you're like looking at someone's Instagram, and then you're looking at their mom's Instagram, and then their dogs, and you just know all about their lives for the last 5 years, and you're just like, oh my God, it's 3 a.m.
This is true.
Right, but I don't have time to sleep.
No.
Right.
I need to know what the dog did 2 weeks ago.
Right. How many likes did that dog get, by the way? Right? How many followers? Probably more than I have.
Right. And then all of a sudden it's like it's like a commercial ad. You know, it's like all these things. It's just like, whoa. Yeah. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah. That's true.
So we're aiming to like bring everybody back around to like the magic of being present. Like that's the root of all this, right? Like
it's so important.
Sleep and all that will come from it. Like when you get the value of being present. Yeah.
That's really good. And it's being present for yourself, and then that's how you're present for others.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not just with this like exterior of this other person. You're actually with them in your energy, in your being. Yeah.
That's good stuff there. Yeah. See? Look at that. See, Mom? I need to sleep more. I get it.
When I sleep better, I sleep more at night. I just feel better the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can feel it when you're low on sleep. You're just not at 100% efficiency.
They say it's more necessary than food.
I believe it.
Yeah.
It's critical. It's like if you're low on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, it's dangerous to operate a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or let alone like the toaster.
No sleep is like the equivalence of like drinking like several, cans of beer.
That's happened to me. I worked on this project and man, I was, where was it? Hacienda Heights, and I had to get home, and I was going on, I don't know how many hours, and I was doing data managing for them. So I was just like, okay, I got to go. I was like one of the last ones to leave. Everyone was waiting for me, and they finally realized, and they're like, hey, you want to just take that home? And I was like, yes, please. I was shaking. Like, I barely made it home. It looked like, if you see those music videos where the lights fly by you. That's what it felt like driving. And
Tracers.
Yeah, it was super scary. Like my whole body was shaking, and loud music wasn't helping. Windows down wasn't helping. Nothing was helping. And I literally barely made it home because I was swerving like crazy.
You need to talk to someone at that point. It's dangerous because the lines start to hypnotize you.
Yes.
Even with the window down.
Even with the window down.
And the radio blasting.
Nothing helped. And listening to stuff I don't want to listen to. Nothing helped. So I was just like...
I'm glad you made it home.
I am so glad.
That's so scary.
Same. That was, and then I still had to get up the next morning to, work again. So that doesn't... That's part of the problem, I think, with this industry, too. Is we were talking to someone from a different country, and they said that they normally work 8 hours, 8-hour days. And I was like, oh, wow. Here it's 12 hours
we push
for set
or more.
Yeah. It's not, you're not supposed to, but yeah, I know people that work 15, 16 hours, and I'm like, you're not even supposed to do that. Yeah. But yeah, 12-hour days is usually the maximum that they try to get. And it's why. It makes no sense to me. I understand, but it bothers me.
You're just existing at that point.
Yeah. And then people start getting grumpy on set and all that. It's just, we got to start taking care of each other.
Well, I think it's looking at our goals too, like intention. Mm-hmm. You guys have heard the term intention before. Like the intention is really like that thing underlying even the goal of what you're really after. Like, so film, okay, I understand the budget and all these things, right? But what are you after with the film? Are you out to make money with the film? Sometimes, yes. Are you out to make a good piece of art? Sometimes are you out to connect with people? What are these things that you're really after? And is doing a reorganization of that, for instance, I think it was Clint Eastwood that would only do, is it 10 hours? I think he did maybe, like that, which again is like a miracle out here. Right.
Right.
And, but I think some places in Europe are still 8 hours or so. And it's like, these projects are incredible. Like what is that, and they were able to like lessen the day, but here's the thing, people are probably more focused, right? They're sleeping, so they're more effective. People are adhering to the schedule more. So I think that it's really setting a standard and really getting everyone on the same page of what is it we're really after. Are we out to feel like we're getting more done because we're here for 12 hours? We feel like, because I think sometimes our culture champions that, right? Like, yeah, good for you. You've hardly slept in a week. You must be getting a lot done.
You're superhuman.
Yeah, you're superhuman. So really like setting that tone, and I feel like that's where whoever is heading this up, like that's your responsibility to do that and set that tone of like, what is it that you're celebrating as a community? Because your community, when you put a film together, or you're putting a radio show together.
And it's kind of difficult too, because for most it becomes a money thing, right? So if you have the producer that's saying like, yeah, we want to make money off of this, so then that's what they're thinking. Now you break it down, you have other people that are involved. What are they benefiting from that? Because it's not the same as a producer. Do you understand? So then if you break it down like that, I think it has to be something that we all have to agree and respect each other for. And it has to always start with the top. Because when we're doing things independently, that's different. Because I want to do it for the art, or I want to do it to connect, or add this so I can be able to grow in my career, and maybe it might make money, who knows. But if you're going into it where it's an established, company, like a major network or whatnot, they're doing it for the money, obviously. They're doing it for that because they're going to gain money. So then you have to ask the people individually, and that's why they're paid more. Because then they're like, okay, I'm going to bend because of that paycheck. And that's where we have to compromise what's more important to us. Like, we need to make time for ourselves and our family and our friends and loved ones and whatnot. Because yes, the paycheck is good. It pays for the bills. But there's times where you have to compromise what's best in your life as well, I think. I don't know.
But also looking at, again, the intention behind money. Money's an energy. And so really looking at money as an energy, like what is the intention behind making money? Money's important. It's what we've created to exist in the society that we have. But what is it, again, behind like the energy of the film? Why is that money important? Is that money important because you are creating something that other people will just love and, in a sense, right, consume, right? You
We'd hope so,
it,
yeah.
right? It's that energy of like, you really love it and you consume it, and by consuming it, you consume more, and it creates more and more money from the energy. Or are you out to make the money to fill your ego? Or are you out to make the money to buy some, I don't know, Bentley or whatever it is, which those things are fine.
Yeah.
But if that's your primary thing and you're forgetting that connection that you have with your audience, which is what creates the energy, which is what creates, more and more money in the account, more and more money behind the project, that's the difference there, I think. And I think it's when people look at like, oh man, I'm going to look so good when this thing is done. Like, look at me. I'm going to be like all over the billboard.
Yeah.
People won't be able, I'll be on the cover of Variety.
Yeah.
But like,
Right.
but like, does that really happen? Does that last?
No.
If your team, the people the people behind you are not energetically in that same pattern and able to lift you and that project up higher. And so really looking at that and how that whole complex universe really works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that people end up meshing right with the people that they want in their life. Yeah. And that's who they stick with. And that's good. It doesn't work with everyone. And sometimes you find the right people, and whether they're right or wrong, that's the people you're working with, and you mesh with them. And that's important too. But I think that's great that all this starts with your medicine wheel.
I don't know, we're talking about budgets with film. Money? Yeah, money's connected to that, yeah.
But no, sleep, everything though, it evolves in that. Right. And it's about trying to make ourselves better. Right?
It's personal success, so you have outside success.
Exactly. Right. When you and it's so funny because I used to think this was all weird stuff. Like I just thought years ago, I was like, this whole like work on the inner self to get the outer. I'm like, no, that sounds like the long way. You just go shortcut. You just go grab what you need. Right. Oh, it's so true. The more you've focused, after my divorce, I decided, okay, I'm really going to focus like inward. And I had a pretty good life, but there was a hole inside of me I couldn't figure out how to fill. I just couldn't figure out what it was. Yeah. I'd go on vacations and like I'd feel empty. I'm like, travel used to fill the hole. Crap, now what is it? And so it's like, well, I can't find it out here. So I started reading, I started meditating, doing all these other things. And then you start to realize that by working on the inner self, you find this peace and you find people that better energetically match with your life, like all these people that really lift you up, right? That really are about helping champion you in your life versus you having to fight to be the champion. Does that make sense? Start showing up, opportunities start showing up. It shifted everything. Right. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is like the key to everything. Right. It's that inner knowing, that inner strength, right? That inner power, power not in a dominating way, power as in like a wholeness, right? And I can do whatever I put my mind to. I have the power to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, that's so good. Are you learning, Kathy?
I am.
I'm learning.
But I truly believe in order for you to find success anywhere in life, you have to find that personal success inward first. And a lot of it, that means, if you want to find love on the outside, you got to learn how to love yourself first. Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. It's a really tough one. I've had a lot of girlfriends come up to me and like, they eventually go like, but I'm kind of waiting for someone to save me, Save
yourself. I have one girlfriend, and it's always like, she's just always at a loss. And it's like, I know what the key is. It's like, look in the mirror. Yeah. Look in the mirror, start with yourself. And then everything will just fall into play. Exactly how you want it,
and you'll get a man that comes into your life that's like beyond what you could have ever imagined, because he's done the same thing.
You won't find success in that relationship, though.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, if you work on yourself first and you find that wholeness in yourself, you are whole and complete, and like, I'm a badass. What?
Nailed it. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Then you find that man that's also in that place. Then the two of you together,
and you guys are like that mighty power couple.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're not dependent, because again, too, I think this thing like I'm hearing all this like echoing in Hollywood lately, like all these women complaining, and and Me Too does have its place, right? Time's Up has its place. We're asking, like with Sabona, like, now what? Like, this is about the healing, but it's like, I also hear this, like, there's so much victimization in it, and so much of like people really being stuck on being the victim and wanting someone else to fix it for them. And that's where it's like, okay, no. Because if you're looking at someone to fix it, whether it's a man or whether it's suing somebody or whatever, you where's your power? Again, like, you are making yourself a victim. You're making yourself at someone else's mercy. You're putting yourself at someone else's mercy. And so that's not a place where you're going to be happy. No one's going to be happy like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you don't have any say, you don't have any power, any control, and you're just a little, you know, you're not even as powerful as a puppy dog following somebody around. You know,
Right.
puppies have a lot of power.
Yeah.
We love them. They're cute. But no, you know, and so it's looking at like, well, how can we start to shift that dialogue that we have within all of ourselves, instead of being, and people need to be called out, right? Like that needs to happen, but recognizing that, like, no, we can set the standard now moving forward. Like, it doesn't mean we have to bash everybody's heads in for the next 10 years. Our energy can go into filling ourselves up and us being responsible for what happens in the industry, what happens within ourselves, in our interactions and things like that. That's us. We have the power to do that as women, you know, and so we can't keep throwing that on somebody else.
Right.
And then when you come back to like a relationship, I think Disney, who doesn't love Disney, right? But like, we're like, so many of us, like, wait for that prince to come and, you know, la 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 la. But like,
It's a farce.
But even let's say a prince shows up, then what? Like if you've read Diane von Furstenberg's memoir, she did marry a prince, and it's like, it wasn't all good things, you know. Like, there was still things that happen in life,
right.
and then you're like beholden to someone else. Look at these cultures who had, like, the men are like the ones that women aren't even, all you can do is stay at home and you know, raise a family, and even then you don't really have many rights. It doesn't work,
right?
You know, and it's like you should want this incredible man or woman, you know, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, to come into your life, but they shouldn't be coming in to fix anything.
Yeah, right.
Because a relationship is teamwork. It is 100-100. It is not 50-50. And if somebody else is not 100 and they're at like 5 for that day, you're at your 100, you know, and you guys pick each other up.
You complement each other.
You complement each other, but you're there when they're down, and they're there when you're down. You guys are. It's like a full on team effort.
I always say, if you're not here to compliment me, you're here to complicate me. Bye.
Oh, love it.
You got that? There you go, Kathy. Thank you for that.
It's so true and simple, right?
Yeah. Seriously. Okay, so unfortunately we do have to wrap this up. Let's go into that. So it's September 8th.
Correct.
Okay, and where again?
It's at Community Shoes.
Community with one M.
Yeah, Community with one M. And then tickets are available on the website. So the Downtown Los Angeles Arts District. The website is sawubona.us. So SAWUBONA.US.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And how much are tickets?
Tickets start at $75. That's for mentor-mentee.
Okay.
And then they go up to $250.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all for a great,
It's all
great
for
cause.
a phenomenal cause.
Yes.
You are helping change a lot of these young women's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Totally
That's
worth
awesome.
going. So save that date, September 8th.
That's next Saturday.
It is
2 Saturdays.
Two
2 Saturdays
Saturdays
from yesterday.
Yes. So tickets already have been on sale.
Yep.
Things are going good so far.
Things are going very well so far.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then where can people find you?
Can find me. Instagram is probably the best place lately. Sasha Marie Speer. That's SASHAMARIESPEER.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. And we look forward to knowing more about this. I'm going to see how I can be a part of it as well. I think it's great. I encourage others to definitely look into it. You know, if you can't somehow afford it, let's try to find a way to still be a part of it. I think it's something that's important. So thank you for bringing this to us, because I didn't know it existed, and I'm glad that I do now. And what was the word again? I want to learn it.
Sawubona.
Sawubona.
Yeah.
I see you.
I see you. Thank you so much. So thank you, Sasha, for
Thank you,
being
Sasha.
here and enlightening me so much today, and everyone that's listening, I hope. Kathy, thank you for being the co-host today.
Of course.
Congratulations to all the films that were selected. Female Filmmakers Fuse, the film festival is in October. Sasha, I want to see if we can somehow bring you on to that. Maybe do something with the organization and you know, for that day or one of the days there. I think it's a 2 or 3 day thing. Let's see what we can do. We'll talk about it, because that would be amazing. So thank you, everyone. Have a very great, safe Sunday. Again, thank you, Sasha.
Thank you, guys.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar, only on LA Talk Radio.